Hey, yo everyone, Andrew here, bringing you another video, and today we're going to be doing my DC New 52 wildcard picks. What are my wildcard picks? Well, allow me to explain. When the DC relaunch was announced, I instantly jumped on and started making a list of comics that I was going to subscribe to and read. Now, in the end of the day, out of the 52 comics that were announced by DC, a total of 26 of them were going to be comics that I was going to subscribe to. So 26 ongoing DC comic titles. These are titles that I would commit to and that I will read to the very end, whether the comic continues on for a million years or get canceled after issue 2. They are comics that I'm going to commit to. However, there were many comics that were runner-ups. Comics that I really wanted to get but unfortunately didn't make the cut. And after looking at my subscription list and looking at my budget and the amount of money I get from work, from teaching karate, and also I get from you guys at YouTube and Google and from you guys watch my videos, I decided that I have room for one more title. So I thought I'd make this interesting and select 3 titles from those runner-up comics, and of those 3 titles, pick up the issue number 1s. Read them, review them, and then decide which of those issue number 1s would be the title that I would add to my subscription list. What are those 3 titles? Well, allow me to show you. First is Mr. Terrific. Second is Stormwatch. And third is Green Lantern New Guardians. So these are my 3 wildcard DC comic picks. All of them comics that I wanted to pick up, read, and to see if I would add them to my subscription list, but unfortunately, out of the 3 of them, only one of them will be added. So the question is this, which one? Well, what I'm going to do is review them all in this video, do quick reviews, give you recommendations on whether or not you should pick them up, and at the end of the video, hopefully I will come to the conclusion on which comic I am going to pick up. So with that said, let's jump into the first review. And that will be issue number 1 of Mr. Terrific. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, there's a few reasons why I wanted to pick up Mr. Terrific. Reason number 1 is out of everyone in the Justice Society of America, Mr. Terrific was always my favorite character. I thought he was always kind of a cool cat, using intellect as a tool, as a weapon. It's one of the reasons why I like Batman, is because Batman's so smart. And it's one of the reasons why I like Mr. Terrific, is because he's so smart. He also has cool gadgets and cool abilities that really make him a fun character. His T-spheres, the painting that's on his face that makes him invisible to technology. And his backstory is one that is tragic, but at the same time, unique and cool. Well, you get what I mean by saying cool. So, Mr. Terrific is a character that I always kind of wanted to dig into a little bit more without having to deal with the Justice Society as a whole. Even though I like the Justice Society, I kind of wanted Mr. Terrific to be on his own. In addition to that, after issue number 1 came out, I heard from everyone, whether it's on the internet, friends, or comic book people, that Karen Starr, formerly known as Power Girl, or could still be known as Power Girl, is also in issue number 1, and I am a big Power Girl fan. So, the question is this, will Mr. Terrific issue number 1 be terrific? Or will it unfortunately not impress me and not be the pick? Well, let's just take a look and see, and jump into issue number 1. Brief synopsis. Issue number 1 gives us a basic backstory of Mr. Terrific. His life before he was Mr. Terrific, how he became Mr. Terrific, and what his motivations are. We get a few action scenes where he's fighting off a supervillain mercenary, and we also get him going to a party with Karen Starr as his date. They're not necessarily together, they're kind of friends with benefits. Anyways, while this is going down, a few people are starting to get loopy, become incredibly smart, but also incredibly dangerous. Can Mr. Terrific figure out exactly what's causing all these people to go loopy and dangerous? Or will he, unfortunately, be affected by this also? You're just going to have to read and see. Let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, the art in this is for most part good, and I like how this does a setup for the first issue. It does a good job at what a first issue should do. It tells us who Mr. Terrific is, how he got his powers, what his motivations are, the direction of the comic, and gives us a plot for the comic too. All within this 22 pages of comic, which is good. I like that. I also like the fact that Karen Starr is going to be in this, and I hope that she actually does become Power Girl, or that she is Power Girl, and we get a new backstory with her as Power Girl. Maybe she had Kryptonian DNA transfused into her, or she got her powers through different means. Whatever the case may be, I would like a backstory with Power Girl that doesn't have to do with Earth, too. I know a lot of people are going to be upset with me about that, but I always thought it would be better if Power Girl was her own character rather than relying on characters from another universe. Bad. Well, there's a lot of talking in this, and the dialogue can be jumpy from time to time. There were points when I was kind of just glazing over stuff, and I would actually have to go back and read it because I felt guilty. This doesn't happen throughout all the comic, but it does happen from here and there. Just talking that doesn't seem that it matters at all to the story itself. Whether or not you should get it. Well, if you have any interest in Mr. Terrific, this does a good job at setting up the series and setting up the character. You don't need to know anything about the character before this to actually enjoy this. Although the issue itself was messa, it was still a good issue to get into the character. And I think issue number 2 will expand on what issue number 1 done and be a better issue. So, for now, if you have any interest in Mr. Terrific, I would give this a recommendation. So with that said, let's jump on to the next issue, which would be Stormwatch issue number 1. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, there's a few reasons why I wanted to get Stormwatch. Reason number 1 is, well, Martian Manhunter is in this comic, and I love Martian Manhunter. He's always been one of my favorite superheroes, and unfortunately he isn't going to be a founding member on the Justice League. However, he does get replaced with arguably a better character in Cyborg. But I always like John Jones. I always consider him one of the most powerful superheroes out there, rivaling, if not more powerful than Superman when it just comes down to overall talents. Another reason why I wanted to get Stormwatch is I heard that this was based off The Authority, and although I had never read The Authority, I heard great things about it. And with all these established characters from those comics, I thought that maybe this would have a great cast of characters that would be unique, different, and lure me in and enjoy them. The last reason is that Stormwatch is all about these super beings that work in the shadows that consider themselves the true guardians of Earth. They even consider the Justice League under them. That's like saying I am having more power than Congress and the President. That's a pretty bold statement to say. But it's still kind of an interesting idea. These kind of black ops superhero, superpowered individuals. The question is this. Will all those elements that got me into wanting to pick up Stormwatch pay off? Well, you're just going to have to wait and see. So let's jump into issue number 1 of Stormwatch. The basic issue is this, is that there is a big threat coming to Earth, and apparently the moon has an eye. Don't ask. This threat is going to endanger the Earth, and it's up to Stormwatch, this group, this Black Ops superhero, superhuman group, to band together to take out this evil. Now, while they are doing this, they are trying to recruit certain members. Most noticeably is Apollo. Now, I don't know much about Apollo or Midnighter or anyone else in the Stormwatch universe other than Martian Manhunter. I do know that Apollo and Midnighter do have a relationship in the Authority, but it doesn't seem as though it's established right away in this. So, Apollo is basically like Superman when it comes down to power. He has basically all of Superman's strength, feats, and abilities. I don't know if he can fly, but he can really jump pretty high. So the question is this, will Stormwatch be able to recruit Apollo and gain the forces that they need to take out this menace that is going to attack Earth and is the reason why the moon has an eye? Or will an outside element, a Midnighter outside element, persuade Apollo to do other things? Well, you're just going to have to read and see. So let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, the characters in this, for the most part, all seem interesting. Martian Manhunter, right off the bat, I enjoyed, I liked how he acted in this comic. He said, when I want to be a hero, I'll be part of Justice League. When I want to be a warrior, I'll be part of Stormwatch. Apollo and Midnighter, although we don't get too much of Midnighter, I both like these characters. They were fun, interesting, and I am eager to see what happens with them. They seem to be parodies of Superman and Batman, but in completely different directions, and I like that. Both of these characters came off as nice to me. The overall concept stuck with this is in the fact that it is a group of individuals banding together to fight off big, humongous, epic level thingamajiggies, and you can see it in this comic. Bad. This comic jumps around a lot, and the dialogue can be kind of boring at times. At one moment, we're dealing with Apollo and Stormwatch. The next moment, we're dealing with this guy walking with his girl, seeing this big monstrous thing in the Himalayas. And at the next moment, we're seeing this katana-wielding dude fighting off something in the moon. There's a lot of jumping around, and there's not much establishment on who is who and what's the character's powers. It would have been nice if Martian Manhunter gave an introduction to the Stormwatch team and told us a little bit about everyone, kind of like how they did in Batman issue #1. They did something like Apollo, status, inactive member of Stormwatch, powers, super strength, super speed, blah blah blah. I don't really know this team at all. All I know is Martian Manhunter, Apollo, and Midnighter. And Midnighter really didn't get overly that much development, although he was badass in this. So it would have been nice if we got a little bit more of these characters. Whether or not you should get it. I would have to say it's kind of iffy. The comic was good, and it was interesting in the fact that it was good in the fact that it made me interested in picking up issue #2, but there was a lot of jumping around, and this is not new reader friendly. And seeing that I know nothing about any of the Stormwatch characters other than Martian Manhunter, I was lost during this comic. So, if you're a fan of all these characters previously, then you would probably enjoy this. However, if you're a new reader, you probably won't like it that much. So with that said, I'm going to leave it up to you. It's really your discretion, but new readers probably won't like it as much as established readers with these characters. So let's move on to the last issue, and that would be Green Lantern New Guardians issue #1. Sorry, I got a phone call that I had to take. So with that said, let's get into Green Lantern New Guardians issue #1. Take a look at this comic cover right here. Now, as you guys may know, I'm a big Green Lantern fan. But in this relaunch, I'm only picking up one Green Lantern title, the main Green Lantern title. So I decided that I'd give another Green Lantern title a chance. We have Red Lanterns, Green Lantern Corps, and then Green Lantern New Guardians. And out of all the Green Lanterns, my favorite is Hal Jordan. But my second favorite is Kyle Rayner. So I figured I'd give Green Lantern New Guardians a chance. So the question is will this comic be good? Will it impress me enough to want to pick it up? Or will it just be another Green Lantern spin-off comic? Because, like Batman, Green Lantern tends to spin off a lot of comics. Not quite as much as Batman, but still, they like to spin off stuff. So, with that said, let's get into issue #1 of Green Lantern New Guardians. Issue #1 starts off with a brief backstory for Kyle Rayner. We get to see him before he becomes a Green Lantern, him becoming Green Lantern, and then we shift to the present day. It's kind of a new take on his origin, but not much is being changed up. It's a way to introduce new readers to Kyle if you've never heard of him before. Then we are delivered to the present day when members from different Lantern Corps, because remember there's a Lantern Corps for each color in the spectrum, for the most part, are getting their rings taken away from them, and some of them are actually dying because of this, because if you take away the ring for a Red Lantern, they die. Some Lanterns are getting their rings taken away during combat, some in space. And all these rings are flying right to Kyle Rayner. And because of this, he's attracting the attention of several other members of each Lantern Corps. So the question is this: will Kyle Rayner figure out exactly why these rings are flying to him? Or will he unfortunately get a beatdown from all these other members of the Lantern Corps and not figure out the mystery? You're just going to have to read and see. Let's get into the good, the bad, and whether or not you should get it. Good. Well, I like the fact that this gives us a brief introduction to Kyle Rayner to anyone that doesn't know about him. It kind of gives him a little bit of a change-up and updating of his origin story. And I like the fact that you can feel as though this is Kyle Rayner. He's a different Green Lantern from John, Guy, and Hal, and it's noticeable here. A little bit more lighthearted, a little bit more creative, a little bit more easygoing. I like also the concept of the story. All these rings are flying off these lanterns' fingers and they're going to Kyle Rayner. Why? What's the purpose? Who's behind all this? And I also like the selection of the cast that they use for the other Lantern members. The Red Lanterns, Indigos, Sapphire, Sinestro, Blue, and Orange. So, I like the various different supporting casts that show up in this. Bad. Well, there's very little action, and not that I'm saying that action is necessary, but I would have liked a little bit more, especially with the Green Lantern. But besides that, on a whole, this was a solid issue, and I do recommend it to anyone who wants to get another Green Lantern title outside the main one. So, with that said, let's get into overall which comic I will be picking up. All these comics were good, and all of them offer something I want. For example, Mr. Terrific is a character that I really enjoy and a character that I really want to get into. Plus, Karen Starr is going to be part of his comic, Power Girl, so I want to see what happens to her. Stormwatch is a completely different comic than what I usually get, so that makes it a strong runner for something that I want to continue to pick up. It had an interesting concept, and it also has cool cast characters. And then we have Green Lantern New Guardians, which is an established character and a universe that I enjoy already and having an interesting story to it. So which comic will be the one that I will pick up? Well, to be honest right now, I don't know. There's a lot of strong runners, and all of them are equally impressive to me. Some of them may stand out in overall writing better, some of them may stand out in an overall story better, and some of them may stand out in overall concept better. But they all fall equally down for me. So I'm going to take some time to really dwell on these issues, to think really hard about which ones I want to pick up. But I would like to know, what do you guys want? Which comics do you think that I should pick up? Should I read Mr. Terrific? Should I read Stormwatch? Or should I read Green Lantern New Guardian? You let me know. Your opinions may affect my overall decision. However, make note that in the end, it is my overall decision, seeing I'm going to be the one reading this. So, I will give it some time. Maybe by next week, I will have my decision. And I guess you won't know which comic I'm going to pick up until I actually review issue number 2. So, with that said, please leave a comment. Let me know which title that you would like to see. Mr. Terrific, Stormwatch, or Green Lantern New Guardians. And then we'll go from there. But I did enjoy each issue. So, with that said, I'm going to end this video here. This is Andrew saying, peace out for now.